What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Chronicle, Josh Trank's found footage superhero movie. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to keep this review as short as I possibly can. I overall think that, despite some problems, I think Chronicle is an actual good attempt at kind of reinventing the found footage genre. Now, me personally, I am not a fan of found footage. I think it's gimmicky and hokey, and there's very, very few found footage movies that I actually like. But Chronicle is one of those few found footage movies that I actually kind of enjoyed and actually really, really like. And I think for the most part, Josh Trank did a good job at adapting the superhero and found footage genres kind of to the best of his abilities. I mean, there are some moments in this movie where it's kind of like, oh, okay, now you're forcing a camera to be in a specific scene to show something certain. And scenes like that can be a little jarring at times because like you're kind of contriving ways to make that to get that point across. But then in a lot more scenes, it's more naturalistic and it makes a lot of sense. Uh, so pretty much from the overall production standpoint and the utilization of the found footage gimmick, like I said, I think Josh Trank did his best, and but there are moments that feel contrived. From a casting standpoint, this movie is actually really, really strong. You have Dane DeHaan, Alex Russell, and Michael B. Jordan, and they play these three friends who stumble across this cave where they find this glowing thing that pretty much gives them telekinetic powers. And as the movie progresses, we see how the three of them handle their powers in their own little ways. With the character of Andrew, pretty much using his parents for more malicious things, because the character of Andrew, he has a troubled history. His mother's dying. His father is on disability, is a firefighter who's on disability, so he's really, really abusive towards Andrew. So Andrew comes from a broken home, more or less. Um, he and the character of Matt are cousins. Matt's a more well together type of individual. He's a more of a, he, but he and Andrew have a good or cousins, but their relationship as kid, but their relationship kind of grows into a friendship as the movie progresses. And the other character of Steve, who is like the popular jockey character, gets integrated into that as well. And this movie works because the chemistry with these three actors is actually really good. When they're having fun, you can feel that they're having fun, and when stuff gets really serious, it really gets serious. Particularly when the character of Steve accidentally gets killed by Andrew, though through no fault of Andrew's own. But Andrew does feel guilt about it, and he refuses to admit that, yeah, Steve's death was caused by him. And that's where the Andrew character goes into more darker territory, because now he's using his powers in ways that they should not be used. The first instance of this happening is where he runs a car off the road and the driver nearly dies. And and after the character of Steve is killed, Andrew kind of uses his powers to kind of like take revenge on a lot of people. Like he attacks a local gang, he goes into a pharmacy and he steals money so that way they can pay for his mom's medication. And he does this by wearing his father's firefighter costume to conceal his identity, which also leads to the climax because when Andrew goes into this gas station, he accidentally blows a thing up and he ends up being in a hospital, and this leads to a really, really, really good climax with Andrew and Matt, with Matt pretty much having no choice but to kill his cousin because his cousin is so far gone at this point. He's killing anything that he sees and anything that walks, and it's really tragic that Andrew's mental mental stability really deteriorated to the point where his powers pretty much became the only thing that gave him purpose in a way. And like I said, throughout the movie, we see how Andrew gradually becomes obsessed with these powers to the point where he considers himself to be an apex predator amongst insects, in a way. While the characters of Steve and Matt pretty much use their powers just for fun and games and just for like little pranks here and there. So it's a good little So it's a good two sides of the same coin type deal. One side uses the powers for malicious things, and the other side uses it for, practical joke things. So that's good stuff. I like it a lot. That was well done. And Michael Kelly, who played the abusive father, I like it. Though I think Andrew's father, should have had a moment to redeem himself, especially when his son's in the hospital. Instead of berating his son and blaming him for his mother's death. That should have been an opportunity for the father character to kind of see the light and be like, no, I can't believe this happened to my son. Listen, son, I hope you make it through this. Your mother passed away, but I hope I don't lose you too, like I lost her. You know, it would have been much more sense if the father kind of regretted the things that he'd done and did to Andrew and kind of had a chance to have a chance for reconciliation, but that doesn't come, and that's kind of a letdown because the movie kind of needed a scene like that because I think it would have made Andrew's demise much more tragic. Like his father is reaching out for reconciliation, but Andrew's too far gone to accept it. Instead of his father just continuing to be a dick, because at that point you're rooting for Andrew to kill the man. So yeah, that's just how I think from a story perspective that should have been handled. But overall, I think this movie is actually really, really good. Like I said, Josh Trank utilizes found footage to the best of his abilities. The special effects in this movie, they're okay for what they are. They're nothing spectacular. And Josh Trank does a good job at trying to make it look as realistic as possible, and I give him credit for that. And the screenplay by Max Landis is overall really, really good, and it's kind of a clever way to do the X-Men, because this is basically like X-Men pretty much, but you're pretty much doing the X-Men, but in a more grounded, realistic setting, and I think Matt Landis did a pretty good job at translating that. So yeah, overall, for me, Chronicle gets a solid 8 out of 10. I highly recommend it, and if you have not seen it, give it a watch. It's kind of cool, and it's kind of interesting. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Chronicle. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.